BMW will charge you over $1,000 for this crystal gear shift knob, so instead I will show you step by step how to install this for a fraction of the cost and improve the look of your car. This will work on any BMW that has this style center console and will most likely make your wife very happy. You can check the compatibility list down in the description. So how are we going to do this for a fraction of the cost? Well, I'm going to be using this kit that I got on banggood.com, and it was only $135. So let's see what comes inside. It's actually more than just the gear shift knob. It also includes the controller as well as the start stop button right there. As this card says right here, we do have to disconnect the battery, and we will do that in just a minute, but let's take a closer look at what we're actually installing here. So here is the gear shift knob itself. Looks really good. It feels like very high quality, so it doesn't feel like cheap plastic or anything, so that's nice. The button press is pretty much exactly the same as the BMW. Same for the unlock button right there. Yeah, it looks really, really nice. So we're gonna get this installed, of course, but we also have this controller. Got to be a little careful with this. So we're going to be replacing, there's some film on top, but we're going to replace in the controller top as well. So that kind of just sticks on top after we remove the original sticker, basically, because that's what it is. We also have this nice start stop engine button, so it will complete the look. So we have all three pieces. We have some sticky stuff in here. We'll see what that's for in just a minute. And we have a plastic trim removal tool, which we will be using to get to the actual connections that we will have to do. Anyway, looks like we have the complete kit here, so let's get started. The first step is to disconnect the battery, as we will be disconnecting some ribbons in the center console. My BMW X7 has two batteries, so I will be disconnecting both. You will most likely just have one. So the first battery I'm gonna disconnect is this one in the back. So this is in the trunk of my X7. We're gonna disconnect this one. This is the main battery, and then we have a smaller battery up front, which we will do in just a minute. So I'm just gonna disconnect the negative side, put it down so it doesn't connect by accident. We will not be removing the center console, as some videos suggest though. You can remove yours to make it a little less awkward and easier to work with, but it is doable as is, and that's what I'm gonna do. Now comes the hardest part. We have to remove the gear shifter, and to do so we have to remove this back cover and then disconnect the ribbon cable. There's definitely not a lot of space, so I see why a lot of people would be removing the entire console, because then you can work on the bench, but can't be that hard, right? He says. That wasn't too bad so far. Okay, so we've removed the plastic cover. Now comes the even hardest part, and that's removing this ribbon right here. This is the cable that I'm talking about, so we have to unplug it. And I'm gonna do that with the little pick tool. Move this up, just like that. And then very lightly pull it out of the way. And now we have revealed a screw that we have to remove next. That screw will need a T10 Torx little bit, like this. So it's super, super important not to break this ribbon cable, because that is part of the center console, and that would be very, very expensive to fix. All right, and the screw is removed. Now it just comes out. With the old one removed, now we have to prep our new one. And well, it's very simple. All we have to do is remove this back cover. There it is. Just shove it in there basically, and it comes off. Okay, so now we're just gonna plug in that same ribbon in here. All right, so it goes on there nicely, easy enough. There's only one way you can put this in. Wow, that looks good already. Nice. Let's put the screw back in. All right, and that's hand tight. I'm gonna make it just a tiny bit tighter, but definitely not put a lot of torque or any kind of pressure on there. That should be plenty. And now the last thing to do is put the ribbon back in. Just trying to help it get in the correct spot, which that seems to be. We can close that up and put the cover back on. All right, the hard part is done. Now we're just gonna put this cover back on. That's it. Next, let's swap out the controller. So to do this properly, what we have to do is remove just this top part of the controller. So we're not touching the spinny part, we're just removing this clipped in part at the top. It always feels wrong to do it on a nice car like this, but that's how it comes out. All right, you want to be very careful once you get to this stage, because there is another ribbon. You don't want to rip this one off either. So you want to move each side up just a little bit like that. And then the cable comes out. So we have to take this apart now. The ring comes off pretty easy. The next step is kind of up to you. Some recommend removing this top piece right here. I will not be doing that. Your touchpad will no longer work because this is a touchpad. But what I'm gonna do is just install this on top. Oh, it looks nice though. So make sure it lines up. And that does. Perfect. Now I'm gonna install the new ring. You have indicators where the top is, so this will go to the top of the arrow. Like that, otherwise it's not gonna line up. Now we're gonna reconnect the cable. Okay, it's pushed in, and now we have to lock it. It's very delicate here. Okay, it feels locked in. It looks good. And put the cover on top. Simple Car Guy here from a couple of days in the future, and I've learned that my idea of leaving the black touchpad surface was dumb, since with the extra thickness, the controller was not as smooth as before. So I decided to remove it and install it as intended. As a bonus, the replacement part does work as a touchpad and has great smooth action just as before. The original surface is also just a sticker, so if I want to go back to stock, I could always reinstall it. Now the only thing left is the start-stop engine button. Replacing the button is actually very simple, but also slightly violent. That's why they include this very sticky goo. So what we're gonna do is open this up. So we're gonna stick that onto the button. Really get it stuck on there. And then we're gonna yank it out, basically. That didn't work. Let's try again. There it is. The button's out. The clips are still intact. So we didn't break anything. We can reuse this button if we like. And now we can just put the new button in. Nice. Now we just have to reconnect the batteries, test the buttons, make sure everything is working. And if it is, that's awesome. We're done. I'm gonna drive it for a couple of days and then give you my final thoughts on how it feels, how it looks, and how it compares to the previous version that I had. All right, it is all done, and I must say I am very pleased with the result. How does it compare to the stock one I had before? Well, it looks and feels premium, and even the plastic on the back of the shifter is much nicer quality without the molding lines of the original. It feels great in the hand, and with all three pieces, it looks like it belongs. I also like that all of the buttons are backlit, even the controller, and of course the logo in the gear shifter. And yes, I meant to order the X logo and not the M, but only noticed when it arrived. You get to choose whichever one you want. Speaking of ordering, check out the links in the description to get yours, as well as the list of cars it should work on. Lastly, it may seem intimidating, but it only took me about 30 minutes to get this installed, and most of the time was spent just being careful not to rip the ribbons. And as you can see, you do not have to remove the center console. If you'd like to see other mods I have done on this BMW X7, click on this video right here. Thank you for watching, like the video if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!